Hello and welcome to tonight's 9 Years Live for tonight's Papa John's Trophy game between AFC Wimbledon and Aston Villa under 21s. 7 o'clock kickoff tonight, so we're just over 45 minutes away. I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Stuart.
My co-host now.
Well, I've done the intro.
Fellow panellist.
Fellow panellist.
Oh, I'm knackered. Apologies. Literally, traffic. 7 o'clock kickoff tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't finish work until 5 and then we hit. I always thought working from home, right? Everyone else is working from home. So there'd be no traffic. There is absolutely loads of traffic. So I've literally made it, with a minute to spare?
Yeah.
So if we make mistakes, it's normal.
Yeah, so as you can see, the early kickoff has done nobody any favours tonight. So thank you to whoever decided to make it tonight at 7 o'clock. But we've got a great show for you for the next 40 minutes or so, take you right through to kickoff. Tonight is available to stream on iFollow across the UK and abroad for the fee of £10. So if you do fancy to watch the game itself tonight and are unable to make it down to Plough Lane, you can do that. So we will just go through the team news for ourselves.
Do we have team news, Mike?
No, I don't think it's on here.
No, it's not on there. Okay.
It isn't starting, is it?
No.
No, okay, it's not on. Give me a second.
So as you can see, we are playing catch up here.
I was literally doing the team news in the car, and I think we had one we weren't sure on. So I'd been told Paris was on the bench. Well, Paris could be anybody, couldn't they?
Yeah, we did. It was a choice between Paris Magoma on loan from Brentford or Paris Locke, who's one of our under-18s, who's a winger. So it could have gone either way. But we do have the team news. I can just read it to you now.
Yeah, just read it through.
So we've got. So the Dons team tonight is in goal Nathan Broome. Back three of Will Nightingale, Paul Kalambai and Chris Gunter. Isaac Kugandire and Paul Osu are the wing backs. Midfield three, Alfie Bendel, Harry Pell and Ayub Bissau. Harry Pell making his first start on the return to the Dons. And NYC and Josh Davison up front. Spike showing you a very crude imitation of what the team lineup is this evening.
Hilarious. We may be lucky actually because believe it or not, with technology, I think I can actually send it over to Spike. So we will go with that piece of paper first, George. But I will.
As you can see on that incredible graphic we've had designed and custom made for this evening's show, as I said, Broome in goal, Will, Paul Kalambai, Chris Gunter, Isaac Kugandire, Paul Osu, Alfie Bendel, Harry Pell, Ayub Bissau, Nathan Young-Coobs and Josh Davison for the Dons. Subs are Nick Zanev, Kwaku Frimpong, Ethan Chisler, Aaron Sasu, Remy Onabanjo, Paris Magoma, we're led to believe according to the club Twitter feed, and Elliot Bolton. So a good mix there of youth and experience for the Dons, stronger than we had to go to tonight, but still young players getting their opportunity.
Yeah, and this is really unprofessional. I've just put the team news Spike in the folder. The files folder. So, hey, look, do you know what? This is just hilarious. Yeah, look how quickly the communication channels. That is amazing.
Had you not said it, we would have almost got away with that one.
Hey, look, do you know what? No point blagging it. And Rob Boyce will join us. He's just sparking up. But do you know what? It's actually a stronger team than what I think we all thought, didn't we? So I wasn't listening to what you said in terms of the team lineup. So I don't know if you did. I was too busy. Can't multitask. But it's actually. I think we knew that Broome was going to be in goal. I think that's what we would ask for a cup, isn't it? But my main thing there is you think about it. Bendel, great that he's getting debut. Is it? I suppose is it his
first start,
isn't it? First start.
Or did he play one of these last year? He might have played one of these last year. You know.
Okay.
Last game of the season, didn't he?
And he started last game of the season.
See.
As you can see, priorities loud and clear. We've done our research. We're fully prepped for this evening's show.
But if you look at it a different way, he got his chance in the last game of the season, which was a dead rubber, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He hasn't gone out on loan yet, so me trying to cover myself. But if you look at it realistically, he's got himself a starting quite early on, hasn't he? Harry Pell, that's not a major surprise. How long do you think we get out of him tonight, George?
Well, he came on. He was scheduled to get probably half hour. He struggled in that half hour. He probably got through 20 minutes well, and then struggled in the last 10.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's probably going to be an hour or so for him tonight. And then I imagine it'll be the similar sort of. It'll be an hour for NYC and an hour for Davison as well. And that'll obviously give good opportunities for the young players. Aaron Sassu coming off the bench will probably get minutes. Remy off the bench will get minutes. So it's a good opportunity for the young players. Obviously, you mentioned Alfie starting, Isaac Ugandire starting. But for the young players on the bench, like I said, with Remy, with Aaron Sassu, these are players, Kwaku as well, could come on and do really well.
Rob's just arrived, so we've don't worry, Rob, you can come in. We've got no one. We were just based on how unprepared we were. We made it within a minute, Rob. 1 minute we made it, so that's mad. Interesting, like I say, going with Nathan Young-Coombs, Josh Davison, Ava Salwin behind that. Do you think that's more of a case of him going? Because it's interesting. Because sometimes Robbo and managers before that wouldn't play that stronger. Are we simply going? Do you know what? You're us forwards. Let's go and get yourself some goals, get some confidence in it.
Yeah, I think we have to, because we've spoken a lot this year. Well, I've spoken a lot about this year about budget, and Johnny Jackson's spoken about the Wembley Day Out on the club website this week. And this is
it's our first group game. We're talking about Wembley Day Out.
This is a competition where
Where do I book my tickets?
it doesn't take a massive run to go on. Get to Wembley.
Saturday night got it last year.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfectly realistic for a League Two team to get there. And it's good prize money. As we've spoken about in previous years in this competition, you can earn a lot of money very early on. And that's very important when we talk about, obviously the money whatever we get for winning tonight won't be in time for the end of this window. But what we get to come in, before the group stages and the first knockout rounds, if we get that far, will be in time for January. And then that's when you look at a lone player who could come in and really fund a push for whatever we need to push for, whether that be automatics or a late push for the playoffs.
Cool. We've got quite a healthy number watching tonight. George Brown is saying, get Boise on. There you are.
Here I am, the man, the myth, the legend.
KFC's with us. I'm joking. This new one, supporting the Dons from Kentucky, US of A.
Nicholas is making me hungry.
Let's have a look. Is he a real person then, the Papa John? Is it a real person? Oh, I never knew that. Oh, of course I knew that. He's so good. He named a pizza. Right? He found a pizza place after himself. Whilst we're actually talking about the competition, should we go through the competition format that we've got, and we can show you who's in our group. There we are. So Southern Group B, ourselves, Crawley Town, Pompey, and Aston Villa. So first game today, and then home to Crawley, and then away to Pompey. Just so George didn't have to get confused. Obviously, I know we got confused with the Carabao Cup, didn't we, with penalties. This one, it does go to penalties, doesn't it?
Yeah. Straight to penalties after 90. Even in a group stage competition, we get the bonus point penalties. Fond memories of that coming into play away to Charlton several years ago now.
Yeah. So they're the competition. So, hey, look, do you know what? The competition, it's had its critics, and I agree with all the critics that it's had. Ultimately, though, it's getting us tonight. It's giving Bendel a game, Harry Pell a game. So we need to use it in that capacity. But obviously, Crawley are going to love the sight of us again, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hang on, so if we draw and we win on penalties, we'll get 2 points.
Yes.
Just to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Rob's just working it out for himself.
Don't worry, Rob. It's been a long day for all of us.
Not bad for the official podcast, is it? We know what's going on.
So bonus point if you win the penalty shootout. Losing team in the penalty shootout only gets 1 point. But like you said, we saw last week, it's a good chance to get minutes. We saw last week we played a friendly against Brentford B behind closed doors. So realistically, tonight, if we didn't have this game, we'd probably be playing a squad probably very similar to this team, probably a bit younger across the back three, where you would just be giving young players minutes and getting fitness. The only difference is that'd be behind closed doors in a very sterile environment. At least there'll be a crowd there. Villa will travel in good numbers. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Are you expecting Villa fans to come?
Yeah, we're expecting a good number from Villa.
I saw a couple outside.
Okay, I would talk about that.
No, I saw a couple outside.
There's a fair few travelling down. To be fair, there will be. Okay. They might even outnumber us.
That's why I asked you. I was like, I'm surprised at that, but hey, that's good news because we've had the under 21s only play one game at home, don't they?
They don't play any at home.
They don't play at home. Good, thank you, George. I did know the rules. So it's actually interesting for them to come and. But you're right. With Brentford, Rob was going to say with the Brentford B, we don't have an under 23s now.
Nope.
So it's in a weird way. I'm not trying to glamorise this tournament, but in a way, these are games that are already organised for us because Harry Pell does need games. We need games for Bendel, etc., and they would get time in the Brentford B game.
So actually, it's come at a good time. To be fair, like I said, Osu obviously needs to get up to minutes. Pell, Bendel needs to get some minutes in his legs. Surprised Bendel didn't start in the League Cup game against Gillingham a few weeks back. To be honest with you. Surprised we've gone very strong up front with Lascelles, NYC, Davison. Obviously trying to get the 3 points and maybe get it done early so we don't have to rely on that Portsmouth away game. Only thing we're worried about is obviously touchwood, no injuries tonight, and we get to Stockport away on the weekend.
It's a good shout actually because that first November game, if I'm correct, George, the FA Cup first round is slightly after that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's either the Saturday after or the 10 days after because it's normally the first or second Saturday in November. So it's one of those where it's going to be important.
They come along very quickly, don't they, the cup games?
Yeah, and it's so the FA Cup.
I've got George checking here, which is classic.
5th of November, so it is. So that game is the Tuesday before the first round of the FA Cup, and that makes it a very important one because depending on who you get in that FA Cup game, you could have 2 games where you can just give minutes to players. If you get a favourable draw, like we saw last year, we had Geisley here, and we were able to rotate. We made hard work of it to get through, but we were able to rotate a bit. And that's what these competitions bring, the early rounds of the League Cup, the whole of this competition right up to the final, and maybe the first round of the FA Cup if you get lucky.
Yeah.
And that's so important to give players, like you said, people like Oggs, people like Paul Osu, Harry Pell, Bendel, and then, getting them minutes so they're ready if they need it in the league. But then giving the kids on the bench, the 16, 17-year-olds, minutes in the first team, which means it just aids their development so much and makes them in a stronger place.
I just think as well, Portsmouth away is our hardest game in the group stage. So let's try to get 6 points now. If we're taking this competition serious and want to get through and get some money in the bank to pay off some bonds and whatnot, let's do it early.
It's interesting actually. George Brown just saying on it, should we play more youngsters considering how tough September is? Let's have a look at September, Spike, in that case then, because we've got the next 5, which probably brings us up through to that period, and it is a tough. We go to Stockport County on Saturday. They're late. Do you know what? I didn't look too far ahead because I think looking actually in bundles of 5 isn't the worst thing to do anyway. But you look at your next 5: Stockport Saturday, Leyton Orient, Northampton, Carlisle away, which is tough anyway because it's a travel and a half, and then you've got a Crawley game. So you're right, George. Should you play more youngsters? It's a difficult one because we don't. If you look at the bench is reasonably young, isn't it? Yeah. But Nathan Chislett, would he get on today? Possibly if we needed to, but you've got Elliot Bolton.
But that's it. And you look at that bench and you think there's no Crane there, so we have to assume he's unavailable because I'd have thought he would have been there if he was available on the bench. So you look at the strikers, and that's pretty much what we got at the moment at the club. With people, Dav's out, Davy Fisher's out injured, Quain not in the squad at all today, so you've got to assume something's happened to him. So we've only got, Hudlin obviously back at Huddersfield recovering from injury. So we've only got those 2 at the moment. That's pretty much all we've got. And then midfield is, the players who need minutes. Ives not had many minutes recently. Harry Pell needs a lot of minutes. Alfie ain't played this season and he needs minutes. So it makes a lot of sense. And then again, the wing backs pick themselves. And the back 3 again, what we got, we've got Ethan Sutcliffe at the moment out on loan. We've got Luke Jenkins injured. We've got a few injuries at the back there in the development squad or the 23 squad. So I think tonight the team picks itself, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the young players get minutes off the bench because this is a chance for them to seriously impress and try and make sure that they're going to get minutes in that run.
So Rob, with that youngster-wise, if you look at it, Frimpong, Sasu, Olabanjo, is that right? Am I pronouncing that right? And Elliot Bolton. Realistically, we know what Paris Magoma can do. We know what Chislett can do. So push come to shove, Pell can get through a game, can't he? Because and I get what George is saying with the youngsters. I probably just don't think we have the youngsters, but obviously we can't get away from it. Transfer window is steadily closing.
48 hours or so now.
Yeah, Johnny Jackson confused me when he said it was Thursday. It closes. Is it the first it closes?
Yeah.
So why is it not at the end of the month?
Also, does the loan window stay open later from the transfer window, or do they shut at both at the same time?
I think they both shut at the same time this year.
Yeah, I said George would tell me if I got it wrong.
Yeah, they only did it differently last year because they tried to do the Premier League window to shut early for reasons there was a giant success for everyone involved. But now they've abandoned that. The loan window shuts at the same time.
Cool. So that's where we are with the game. Let's have a look back, if we can, against Barrow on Saturday. There's a moment in time. That hair bun's getting longer and longer, isn't it?
Hair bun and an Alice band. What a combo.
Do you know what? After talking to Josh Davidson on our podcast, I couldn't be rude. I was going to talk about his hair bun, but he's such a nice guy. I thought I can't do that. I felt really guilty. So this is the early goal. Do you know what? He goes to go short, doesn't he, and then he spins, turns, and just that yard of pace. But it's like saying to you, a day, Rob, wasn't it? My mind doesn't want to be too far out. And that's you've got to put our side.
I don't think any of that. One of the goals you could see coming from a mile off from the stands. You could see that I was coming in and
That's close on the forward.
Yeah, I think Nick had it covered, but it was close. You know, and then this highlight isn't doing us any favours, but it really does, you know, we were fortunate to only be one game.
Yeah, because I was sitting with you, George, wasn't I? I was having a free kick and then you got the extra seconds.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing, the whole story.
This goal, yes, it's hands in there, isn't it?
There's hands in there, but it was the offside that was given.
Well, due to the magic of, my skills, I had a look at this and, have a look at this when you freeze it.
We're not going to get in trouble with the league for showing that, are we?
Well, the lines.
Yeah, but that's. I mean,
and
that
it wasn't handball because you don't weigh.
It flicks up from no distance, so you can't give that. But it was right. I mean that's pretty conclusive. I don't think we need to say.
No, you could argue it's handball, but he isn't flagging for handball.
No, and that's Reece Van clears up the other issue, and it's disappointing that those decision goes against us.
And this defender gets out of jail, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's actually a good challenge.
Yeah, I mean, a great recovery challenge on the far post, but the defending to Davison was appalling.
He was off to the fan zone.
And this one, do you know what? This goes in. This is goal of the season done.
That was inches. That must have clipped the post. That must have clipped the post on its way through because that was agonisingly close.
The confidence for a centre half just to take it on the volley, he didn't take a touch, did he?
But also, I think you always see that in games when you're desperate and struggling to break the opposition down.
It's very dark out here, George.
Yeah, and struggling to create opportunities. You often see the centre backs happen to take those long range shots. And it just shows that we were struggling. We had no confidence that we'd be able to get in behind or create that opportunity. So we resorted to in the last minute. Will shooting from 30 yards, and it very nearly paid off. Definitely. It just goes to show how frustrated we were getting out there.
And let's say hello to Brazil. I'm Vasco da Gama, but I'm connected to da Gama. My Brazilian isn't great. Do you speak Brazilian or is it
Portuguese?
Spanish? Portuguese, isn't it? Same thing. It's not the same thing, to be fair. But connected to Wimbledon. That's good news. I hope you enjoy it. And you know what? Watch the game online if you can later on iFollow. I had a quick look at some tactics. So I've got the tactics proof. As you know, I love my tactics. The reason I brought this up, and this isn't, there's a bit of data in it. The interesting thing was, we look at the top left-hand corner possession where the ball was. The lighter the colour, the more possession was in there, and it sort of highlights, doesn't it, where we played from back to middle, and we couldn't get into that. We couldn't get into that final third enough, could we?
The defensive and middle thirds where you had a lot of possession. Also, it's showing. I mean, the lower of the graphics there in terms of the heat maps really goes to show just how linked Brown and Pearce were with their passing between each other, and how we failed to get the switches out to the right hand side, and how our only outball was just a hit long down the left hand channel for Jackie Curry to chase, which died out in the second half. The other thing that you really have to notice here, sorry, I know it's moving on slightly.
That's right.
If you look at the average positioning charts, which are the two things there, if you look on the left hand of them,
that's the starting lineup, the left hand.
Yeah. Our starting lineup, you can see Jack Curry 26, and then you can see, if you look on the one which was after the subs, of Paul Ossu 37. Look how much narrower Paul Ossu is, and that's why we lost all threat down inside and have the line, and which meant that we just didn't have the outball, which, as you can see, was our only outball in the whole game, which you can see on the heat map.
Yeah. Do you know what? we'll come back onto that. I know where you went there. One thing that's quite interesting, Rob, is if you look at passes, 510 passes, and to be fair, I think 200 of them have been. I was
going to say 500 of them were out of theirs, weren't they?
You know, Alex Pierce and Lee Brown have got a romance there, haven't they? But it was difficult to get some of them. What is interesting, if you go down to the second part of it, possession lost, 159. Whereas Barrow didn't have as many passes. We knew that when we started, that Barrow weren't really a possession-based team. But we lost the possession just as much as Barrow did, and which we had more the ball on that sort of side of it. It just shows you, doesn't it? I don't think we're far away from what Johnny Jackson wants.
Nope.
But you can sort of see you can have as much possession as you want, but if we don't get anywhere, we just didn't get into that final third on Saturday.
And I would say, sorry, Boyce, but
we just cut over him. I'll let Boyce answer first.
No, go on, let George go. No,
sorry, I just wanted to point out something very quickly before you answer, because if you look at the possession stats on that, Barrow attempted less long balls than us, but lost possession less than us as well, which really does show just, you know, the vulnerability, because you'd expect those to be paired up with the more long balls you do, the more you lose possession.
Yeah.
So sorry for jumping in for that, but Boyce, off you go.
Boyce has now lost his voice.
Yeah. You know what? Went down the wrong hole, so.
R.I.P. Robert, Boyce killed by Ribena.
What was the question again?
I don't know. I'll tell you my next one. If you look on, and one thing I did notice, and one thing I've said I've noticed is that we starved a little bit of getting balls into Nathan White, Nathan Young-Coombs and Davison. If you look at the left hand of the average positions, you can sort of see in a way Barrow boxed them out. You know, 16 and 14 screened in a way.
Yep.
You know, and it was very difficult. And in a way, they said to us, "Well, you go left."
Yep.
Because you know Lee Brown's got no one really there. They basically said, "You go left," and that's what's going to happen, isn't it? At the moment, we're going to look at a position of going, well, they're going to send us one way, because ultimately that's what someone's going to do. And in a way, that sort of highlights I think we've just struggled getting play into Davison and Nathan Young-Coombs, and you can also argue when Ayob comes on, he has the same problem.
Yeah.
Well, I found there was a graphic you showed me earlier today in the WhatsApp group, Stu, about touches in the box, and we're right down there on 17th. You know, we need to get. I think our back line needs to step up and be higher, so the lines between midfield, defence, and attack are more closer together, so we can play them passes, quicker and easier in defeat. I do wonder how the Barrow game would have played out if we didn't let in such an early goal, because they just put men behind the ball. You know, it was always like Jose Mourinho-esque, park the bus, get men behind the ball, and it was up to us then to come out of our shape and try something different. But Johnny Jackson has his philosophy and his way he wants to play, and unfortunately I think there was times where we could have broken down, but we just didn't get the switch of play quick enough, or we didn't get that ball into feet quick enough, and it was just a bit sloppy at times for us.
And it's
very dark out there. Have we basically got into recession early and not turned the floodlights on?
The lights are on. I can't confirm that.
We just turned it down a little bit.
Yeah, but just going back to those positions, it's interesting what you were saying, Boyce, about defensive lines and lines between defence and attack. Because you look at it, so after the subs is basically the final 20 minutes of the game when we're chasing and getting desperate. You look at the lines, and they're very, very similar. For the first 70 minutes and the last 20. The defensive line is pretty much exactly where it was. The midfield line, pretty much exactly where it was. The only outlines are obviously Ayoub and Quain coming on, holding a much more aggressive line. And it's one of those things where it's almost concerning that we didn't push much further forward, and we didn't encourage those lines to go forwards. We weren't obviously pumping the balls in the box, because it was only the last couple of minutes when Quain came on that you can see we had any sort of meaningful possession or any meaningful player positioning inside the final third.
I just feel we'll wrap up on that slide. I just feel we need to get Magoma further forward to get the possession. I think he's technically very, very good, but I don't think we're actually getting the best out of him purely because of his starting position. Yep. And that could be something that Johnny Jackson wants to. We're 6 games in. We're still getting used to how Johnny Jackson wants to play, and you can definitely say that he is going to stick with this.
Yep.
Transfer window coming up. I still believe he's probably a couple of players short of what he wants to get, and he's never going to resolve that in one transfer window. But he's sticking to his guns, and we'd only get better with that.
I would say sorry. Finally, before we move on.
Yeah, we come in. We had Alex Woodyard. Let me just bring him along. We had Alex Woodyard call us earlier.
Alex, you were telling me to come up.
George, yeah, come on. So we've got George Marshall's just joined us. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks yourselves.
Yeah, you just missed out our analysis of Saturday, which is always good. So, you're not playing tonight?
No, I'm not playing. Yeah, I I got a knock in the game, the first 15 minutes on Saturday, and my ankle's just swollen up a bit, but I think it's just the impact, so I should be fine.
Cool. So this sort of game is not the worst to miss in a way, is it? In that sort of.
Yeah, obviously as players we want to try and play a good game. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, hopefully I'll be fit for Saturday.
Cool. So we put highlights back on Saturday, if you want. We were just literally looking through highlights on Saturday. How did you feel Saturday went? It was a frustrating game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite frustrating to be fair. I think as players we thought we started the first half quite slow. The way we moved the ball, we probably could have moved the ball a bit quicker. But saying that, we probably should still come away with something from the game, we thought. As they had kind of the first half, they had one shot, one goal really.
Yeah.
So we still feel like we should have come out of the game even though we didn't start off the best.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because that fast start is always... How do you get... It's difficult in thinking, how do you get a fast start? Because obviously everyone's going to come out saying, do you get pumped up, or is it... Because obviously the difficulty side, and we're just looking at a goal here actually, looks simple in the end, doesn't it? But it's just they got around the side of us again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think that was a slow start in terms of maybe pressing it and that side? Was that where we were on that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we definitely knew we started the game slow. Sometimes it could be anything, like maybe a good tackle or something that can just kick-start everyone. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Just to get us going. But we couldn't seem to get going the first half Saturday. Second half, we definitely felt we was better. Yeah. But we couldn't quite just finish it off.
How are you finding your role in there at the moment? It's obviously a new system, isn't it?
Yeah, new system. I'm enjoying it, to be fair. Obviously slightly different. I'm usually a lot deeper. Yeah. But the gaffer wants me trying to make runs in behind more, and obviously trying to get a bit further up the pitch. Yeah. But I'm kind of learning as I'm going along. Really, I quite enjoy it. It's something different. But also I like coming to get on the ball as well. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously Barrow getting the early goal, they could sit a bit, couldn't they?
Yeah.
And that's what's more.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like once they score a goal early, they sit. Obviously, you've got to try and break them down. It's not as easy as what everyone thinks. It's not because we have loads of the ball. People think we're on top, but.
What do you think at the time? I've slowed it down.
Was it handball or offside? What was it given for? Do you know?
I think it was given for offside.
Yeah.
But it looks like handball as well, doesn't it? But.
Because it was a well worked move because we got the wide players in, which we also would try and do, isn't it?
Obviously a great delivery as well. Do you know what I mean? So
that's I was wondering what he's got to do to.
Yeah, he's not here. Isn't he?
Sound like a self-demonial.
But it's that sort of side. Obviously, I think you were off by now, weren't you? On that sort of side. Defender, he gets away with a little bit in there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But then, to be fair, Josh Davison works hard, doesn't he?
Very hard. Yeah, he's been. He started really well for us, to be fair. Obviously, a little bit of a different dynamic to what we had last year, but he works so hard for the team, and that's what we can ask for, really.
If this goes in, Will's not showing up at all season.
No, he's not.
It's winning goal of the season for that, isn't it? You might as well give him the award now.
So what were you thinking about tonight? Obviously got a few kids out tonight, and we in terms of Bendall's coming to midfield.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great opportunity for some of the younger boys to play, to start a game, and for some of the boys that are not in the team, obviously to try and give the gaffer a bit of a situation for Saturday, for the game Saturday. So
yeah, that's gonna be
it can work both ways, really.
It's gonna be a tough one going out there at Stockport.
Yeah, definitely. But I think I know we lost Saturday, but I think the boys are in a good place. We've been playing well, but a bit unfortunate on Saturday. But I think the boys are in a good place still.
Brilliant.
It's a question from Mark Hendricks.
Oh, okay. Oh, we've got a question. How does Paris differ to Woody? Oh, crikey, that's a question. Well, Woody, if we don't chat as much. I guess Woody talks a lot more.
Yeah. To be fair, I think Paris obviously likes to get on the ball and kind of like drive past players more than what Woody does. Yeah. But Woody likes 1-2s, getting around players. So they're slightly different, but obviously they play the same kind of position, so it's like do a lot of the things the same, but little tweaks what they do differently.
And not to go in too much, I suppose Saturday's another learning curve of Paris, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? In terms of that frustration and all that.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, he knows that he probably shouldn't have done what he done, but he'll learn from that. It's one game, then he'll be back hopefully. So,
definitely. Well, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us. That would be us now. Don't forget you can join us. You can join and watch the game on iFollow. And yeah, we're not going to be back after the game. We're going to have a bit. We're going to have an early finish and. Then up to Saturday. Next game here will be late in a couple of weeks, and we've got Dave Anderson joining us for that. So enjoy the game, and let's hope we get a win tonight.